light. Shadows creep and crawl with every scream. Hear the echoes call. Synths and guitars in a haunting blend. An 80s vibe where the terror transcends. Shocktoberfest, scream until dawn. In your nightmares, the terror's reborn. Lights flash, monsters take flight. Embrace the darkness, it's a metal night.
Hey everybody, Wildman Wes here, and welcome to day 28 of Shocktoberfest 80s Rewind. We have now approached the final year of the decade in 1989, and today's film, the best way I could describe this is adaptations can be made for the better and sometimes not for the best. And most of the time when we get recurring adaptations or we get the remake or the reboot or whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of people that will thumb their nose. However, when somebody does a reboot but changes the story slightly to where it has a whole other aspect, sometimes you might get something special. And that is the subject of today. We're going to be talking about the 1989 adaptation of The Phantom of the Opera. For those of you in the know, I was a theater student. I am big on plays, musicals, and Phantom of the Opera is definitely one of those musicals or Broadway operas that my wife Becca and I enjoy thoroughly. That was one of the musicals that brought us together in the first place. But I digress with the lovey-dovey yada yada. Our story begins with a young opera singer named Christine who is desperate to find an audition to hopefully get a role in a show on Broadway. Her manager Meg looks through some old music and comes across an unfinished piece called Don Juan Triumphant by a man named Eric Dessler, who was allegedly a man that took the lives of 10 people in 19th century London. As Christine starts singing the songs from Don Juan Triumphant, odd things start to happen. And when we get to her audition, she starts singing some of the music, and a sandbag falls from the rafters, almost hitting her, where she falls unconscious. She then wakes up in London in the year 1885, where she's on stage working on operas. So she gets her wish, she's an opera singer, and now we start to get into the story of The Phantom of the Opera, especially when it comes to the Andrew Lloyd Webber adaptation. Christine actually meets Eric Dessler, who is this angel of music and is teaching her how to sing more properly to get better roles through the opera company. And there's a dark secret to Eric Dessler. Not only is it true that he has been dispatching people left and right in the town of London, he does it for a reason. He sold his soul to the devil because he wanted his music to be immortal. He wanted to be remembered. And the devil gave him his wish, but with a price, the price of his face, to where he became disfigured. And the only way to keep himself looking somewhat human is to take the remaining skin off of his victims to put onto himself to look normal. Eric says that Christine is the inspiration for him to finish Don Juan Triumphant. And eventually, with all of the back and forths going on and her finding out that what Eric is doing is true, she has to turn away from him and get with the inspector to wreak fire onto him. Let's just say he got riddled. I'm just going to say that because there are certain things we can't say on this platform anymore, folks. Gotta love it. Christine finally breaks Eric's mirror, which brings her back out of her unconsciousness in present day. And as she is waking up, she meets a young man who is the producer of the show she's auditioning for, and he says that she has the part. Crazy thing is, he looks a little familiar. He invites her back over to his house, and he goes and says he's going to get into something a little more comfortable. She finds the Don Juan music within his library, and oh, what do you know? It's Eric Dessler, still alive and in the future. And the only way to dispel his evil and dispose of him is to destroy the music. Christine does this, and he goes away. Or so we think, because because the sheets of music may have been destroyed, but this is the 80s. Discs remain. Gotta love technology, right? Now it's time to talk about what I like and what I don't like about this film. We're going to start off with what I don't like. Now, yes, I get it that they definitely took a lot of liberties using the Andrew Lloyd Webber style of his adaptation of Phantom of the Opera, and it works to a degree, but at the same time, when you're changing it up a little bit, I wouldn't say it takes the attention span away. A lot of it just makes it very awkward, or we have high set expectations of what we think we're going to see, and when we don't see it, it makes us disappointed. I would be a liar if I said it didn't disappoint me, but at the same time, I do appreciate what they tried to do to not just make this another carbon copy adaptation of something we've seen time after time after time after time after time. I would honestly say that's the worst of what I don't like. I can't really see anything else I don't like about this film. The pacing does tend to drag. It really does. And for a movie like this, especially when you're used to hour half, we get that. However, it just feels like this hour-half long movie is drug out a little too long. Which is kind of sad, because even though when the movie came out, the reviews were very, very bad, to the point where they actually were thinking about making a sequel to this film, where Eric Dessler is going off to Canada for another terrorizing moment. But Robert Englund, the star of this movie that plays Eric Dessler, said, well, it just didn't work out. In other words, the movie was that bad back then. Now that I brought up Robert Englund being in this film, it's time to talk about the cast. I love the fact that we're a few days away where Robert Englund is finally going to get his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame alongside John Carpenter and alongside Keith David, which is awesome. I'm not sure if they're all getting it on Halloween, but at the same time, I'm just excited that they're finally being appreciated by the masses in this way. And as far as I'm concerned, for all three of them, it should have happened a long frickin' time ago. But I'm digressing. Cast. I'm gonna talk about the cast. Apart from Robert Englund, we have Jill Schuler, we have Alex Hyde White, we have Bill Nighy, we also have Terrence Harvey, we have Stephanie Lawrence, and we also have a small part from Molly Shannon of SNL fame. So that's kind of cool. And a lot of that, with their performances, they did a really great job. They really did. They stuck to the material and made sure that they weren't being over the top. And for somebody like Robert Englund, who played Freddy Krueger for so many years with a lot of the bad dad puns and bad dad jokes, that's a little difficult. However, he is a Shakespearean trained actor, so he definitely was able to tone it down for this one. And not just that, but there is almost parallel similarity of his character of Eric Dessler to Jack the Ripper. And sometimes I've often wondered when watching this film, were Eric Dessler and Jack the Ripper the same person? I don't know. Could be. Maybe it's something we can talk about in future episodes. Speaking of Freddy Krueger, we have Kevin Yeager doing the special effects for this film. After all, Kevin Yeager was well known for his work on Nightmare on Elm Street 2 through Nightmare on Elm Street 4, as well as creating the Chucky doll from the Child's Play series. And he also did things like build the animatronic puppet of the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt. The guy's got a resume big time, and I've always appreciated the work that he's done. Okay, Wes, it's time to get off your love for Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's time to grade Phantom of the Opera. Now, as I've mentioned before, with this being an adaptation, slight adaptation with their own little spin on it, man, this is difficult, because when I saw the grade for this, when it came out, it was a 2.9 out of 10, and quite frankly, in retrospect, I remember watching this once years ago, and I was kind of like, okay, this is interesting. And when I look back on it, I go, this movie doesn't get enough love as it deserves. They do some things in here that, though the critics panned it back in the 80s, it's something that people have used in their movies within the past almost 40 years. And it would be foolish to say that those movies that might have adapted something from this film, yeah, it would be foolish to say that this film isn't as good as those. Because without this film, some of those movies may never have been made. That being said, my grade for the 1989 version of Phantom of the Opera is getting a solid B. And it's not just because of Robert Englund, it's the fact that I didn't give this movie enough credit when I watched it years ago, and looking back and also watching it on a VHS tape, man, it brought me back to some good times watching movies. Well, we hope you enjoyed this review on Phantom of the Opera. If you've seen this movie and you agree with me, leave a thumbs up, and if not, I understand. If there's things that you didn't like that I liked, or that you liked that I didn't like, put it in the comment section below. I'm really interested in to see what all of you have to say about some of these movies, especially in the horror genre. It's my jam. It's what I watch even outside of Halloween. I love the genre itself because it keeps you guessing on how many styles of horror we can find in cinema. Also, make sure you share on social media, but most importantly, you push that little red button. Let's get the subscriber list up a little bit more. I want 500 by end of 2025. And other than that, make sure, just share on social media. Put some likes on there. Just tell your friends, tell your family, fun and party. I digress, because we still have 3 more movies to go, and as you can see probably by the look in my eyes, I'm fading a little bit. But we'll fix that once we get to the next episode. Tune in next time for day 29 of Shocktoberfest 80s Rewind, and as always, I'm Wildman Wes, and we'll see you again. Take care, and as always, stay scared, kiddies.